So Kenta Rinpoche gave about a month's worth, I think 4 or 5 sessions of teachings last spring. It was a commentary on a short text called, I think, The Path to Bliss. And recordings of those classes are available on the center website. And so what I thought we would do, in these sessions, is just to go back and really spend some time meditating on the points that he made. And this text, The Path to Bliss, is part of an overall collection of works that are known as the Graduated Path to Enlightenment. So it's called the lam-rim, L-A-M-R-I-M, the lam-rim teachings.
It's a graduated path
to enlightenment. It's the stages on the path to enlightenment. It's been translated in different ways. And so these are teachings that sort of put together the essential concepts, of the Buddha's teachings from all of the different areas of the Buddha's teachings. So it includes the sutra teachings, and then also the Vajrayana or tantric teachings, and it includes the core ideas that are held in common for both the Hinayana, or the lower school teachings, as well as the Mahayana, the Great Vehicle teachings. So everything has been encapsulated into this collection of teachings called the lam-rim. And so it's a very accessible and easy way to meditate on the Buddhist path. And so traditionally, in the beginning of studying the lam-rim, you think a little bit about the greatness of the teachings. You go through and think about how what are all the benefits and the good qualities of the Buddha's teachings. And then there's a section that talks about the qualifications, how to find a qualified spiritual teacher. And then there's a section on how to be a good Dharma student, what's the ideal recipient of the teachings, and then how to listen to the teachings and all of that. So I think that if you're serious about studying lam-rim, it's good to go back and listen to the recordings and to read those sections. But I think for the purpose of this class today, then we're not going to go through those topics. And instead, what I thought we would focus on is the idea of taking refuge. So, refuge is seeking a protector. Seeking a protector from the sufferings of cyclic existence. And so you think of everything that we're experiencing here today as being the result, as we were talking about earlier, of our previous karma. Right? Karma meaning the actions that we did in the past deposit seeds, deposit sort of a subtle energy on our mental continuum, and eventually those seeds, that energy ripens in the form of experiences, in the form of, and experiences includes, the physical environment that we experience, everything from flowers on the altar to being in this classroom to being born humans, right? So all of that. And so, as we go through our daily lives, and we experience all kinds of suffering, right, in all of its different myriad forms, right? And you think of the suffering, that comes from having too much of what you don't want and not enough of what you do want, right? And what you think is going to bring you the greatest happiness is always just out of reach, it seems. Right? Or it's always changing. So you think, oh, I really wanted that, new car, and you finally get the new car, and then you're not happy. Right? Oh, I should have gotten the other one. Why did I get this one? Should have gotten the other one. Right? So even if you get what you think you wanted, then what you wanted changes. So you can see that in your own life. From your own personal experience. If you have children, then you can definitely, their minds change all the time, right? So the idea of taking refuge is thinking that, I've had enough of this. It really has to come from a deep understanding of the suffering. So it's not just physical suffering, birth, old age, sickness, death, right? It's all of the anxiety that we're so familiar with. All that disappointment, all that aggravation, frustration, right? And so that's why we're all here today, right? You wouldn't come to a meditation class, a yoga class, right, if you didn't have a sense of that suffering, that unhappiness. Right? And so the Buddhist, in the Mahayana tradition, primarily we're thinking, okay, I want to free myself from this suffering, this samsara, this cyclic existence. I want to free myself from this samsara, cyclic existence. But I also want to free all sentient beings, right? So all the animals, all of the insects, all of the people around me, right? And in the Buddhist cosmology, they believe that there are actually different realms of existence. So there are hell realms, there's an animal realm, there's a hungry ghost realm, there are the different god realms, okay? But anyway, even if you don't think of those other realms, you think that I'm going to at least free myself from this unhappiness. So that is in common with the Hinayana tradition. The Hinayana tradition is primarily starting with focusing on the self, liberating yourself from this unbearable suffering. And then in the Mahayana tradition, you think that I'm going to extend my efforts, my motivation is to help all sentient beings, okay, in all the different realms. Okay? So that's what a Buddha is. A Buddha is somebody who is, through the process of meditation, has attained higher and higher states of meditative stabilization, realization, and has purified himself or herself of all of these negative emotions, negative attitudes, and has completely realized the nature of reality, such that he or she never has the causes and conditions for falling into these negative states. It's completely purified of negative emotions and fully realized the nature of reality. So you think, well, why should I even think of taking refuge, right? And I think that anybody, like I said, anybody who's looking for some type of spiritual growth, spiritual attainment, you think that whether it's God or Allah or any other type of divine being, in this case it's Buddha, right? You're looking for somebody to whom you can rely on in a time of crisis, a time of need, right? So the example I always give is, you're going down going around the Beltway, you're on 495, right? And the big semi-tractor trailer is, cutting into your lane, and you're squished between the tractor trailer on this side and the SUV on the other side, and you're in the Toyota Corolla. You need somebody to take refuge in, right? I mean, that's just a material, gross example, but something leaps into your mind. Something is there, and you think, oh, please Buddha, help me. Right? Or you saying, please God, help me. Right? So that urge, for having someone to rely on, someone to depend on, I think is there. I think it's a fundamental feeling that everyone has. Right? So if you're a child, who are you going to reach out to? You think, Mommy, right? Forget about the dads. That's always Mommy. You're having a nightmare in the middle of the night, right? You're having some scary dream. And often, you find yourself seeking refuge in something. So in the Buddhist sense, we're talking about taking refuge in the Buddha, and then in the teachings. Okay, so the teachings are the actual refuge or the Buddhist teachings. So this lam-rim, set of teachings was an easy way for us to get started, to understand the Buddhist teachings. And it's considered the actual refuge in the sense that by helping, ourselves, then we attain, perfect enlightenment, right? So even though, when we're in a time of crisis, we call out to the Buddha, actually, the Dharma is the true refuge, because by learning the Dharma, practicing the teachings, changing your heart that way, slowly, that's how, the real change will occur, right? That's how you're going to transform your attitude. The Buddha just taught the teachings, right? The Buddha taught the teachings, but the actual change, what can really help you is studying the teachings and doing the practice, right? So then the third, we have the Buddha, the Dharma, and then the Sangha. The Sangha are technically it's the monks and the nuns. So it's the ordained Sangha, or really it's the Arya Sangha. So it's anyone who's completely realized emptiness, truly understood the nature of reality. Right? And so the Sangha's role is to, have been compared to nurses. So if the Buddha is the doctor, then the Sangha are sort of the nurses who provide spiritual guidance. So Khyentse Rinpoche, or Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Geshe Sopa, or Sangha. Okay. So you slowly become convinced that the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha can save us from some circling in samsara, so taking rebirth in the lower realms, right? So like the animal realm, the hungry ghost realm, all this, like the hell realms, and can protect us from experiencing negativities, in this life as well. Right? So actually, this being born in the human realm is actually considered to be the best. Right? And so part of this practice of taking refuge is really to just develop a strong sense of gratitude and appreciation and love for what we have, here and now. Right? And I think a lot of it is as you do your meditation in the morning, you really take a minute to rejoice in all that you do have. And it's a really, really important part of the practice. Is just rejoicing in what you have. So just the fact that we're so lucky to have running water, a nice house or apartment or whatever, a nice dwelling, a roof over our heads, right? Food to eat, clean clothes, a bed to sleep on, and we're not sleeping in the mud in a field somewhere. It's really just amazing, and it's always tends to be things that we take for granted, right? So you can rejoice in all of that, and think that the fact that we have all of those material necessities, that we have loved ones, friends, family, it's all again because of the actions that we performed in past lives and in this life, right? And it's all because of virtuous actions, not just any old action, right? It's all because of virtuous actions that we performed in the past, okay? So if you're kind to somebody else, then that kindness will be repaid in some form. And so you just rejoice in everything that is good around you. Okay. Why don't we just spend a little time, thinking about that, thinking just over the different reasons that we just went over, the different qualities. And think, is that something that, in your own mind, is that something that have you thought of that before? Based on whatever you know about well, maybe don't go too far with it then. Just think of, do you feel that there's a need in your life to take refuge, right? That would be the first point. And then think that, do you feel there's a way to escape from samsara, from the suffering, right? The cycle of suffering that we just talked about. Do you think that's possible? And then the third would be, and this is something that we might, that I think we're all sort of gradually coming towards a decision or a conviction or faith. Is, do you think that the Buddhist path in particular is the answer to finding this way out of samsara? So let's sit with that for a while, just see how far. And then if we have any questions, we can talk about that.
I have a question. When you say that we've attained this life, or as a human, they're virtuous actions. And then I look at other humans that are very angry or disagreeable or whatever you want to say. And I think, well, if they got here by virtuous actions, what happened?
How did they get here?
Yeah, because in this one, they're definitely not showing any of that.
Right.
So I don't know what to think of them unless maybe they're teachers in the way that, we learn here, but then they practice with the people that we get the practice, that now you have to put yourself into practice and to grow.
Well, so based on past actions, they attain a human rebirth, so they're here now. But then it's up to them to continue to act in a virtuous way so that they don't spread disharmony in their lives with the people around them, so that they have to act in a way in accordance with the Dharma, acting in a virtuous way, so that they create the causes and conditions for happiness in this life and in future lives. Right? So even though they made it to the human life now and have maybe good circumstances, that doesn't mean that they're not going to use up all of their.
It's almost like they don't remember or something, or.
Could be. But I think it's just, everybody has a choice. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But, you have a responsibility and a choice. So even if you made it here, you have to make sure that you're continuing to make an effort so that you create the good karma that will lead to happiness in this life and in future lives. But I think people, so just because you're born human doesn't mean that, it's not like everything's predetermined or by anything, right? You have to make that choice. So we're fortunate, one of the things you can rejoice in is that you're fortunate to have had an opportunity to learn about the Dharma, right? because many people haven't had that opportunity. I was talking to a friend of mine who grew up in Alaska, and he said, 30 years ago when he was in Alaska, there were no Dharma centers. There was nothing, and there wasn't this prevalence of social media, and His Holiness wasn't as well known, and you couldn't go on YouTube and see the Gurya Samadhi Center's channel, and all that stuff. So, here we are now in a world where really anywhere, or many, many places in the world, you could have access to the Dharma. So it's there. It's just a question of whether or not you're going to pursue it or not. Any other questions?
And up till now, I've just been doing the focus on the breathing, but this is another type of meditation, is you can ask yourself a question and then...
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you can go through a particular prayer and, reflect on the meaning of the lines as we did previously, or you can do what's known, this is called an analytical meditation. So you can go through a particular topic, and they're outlines, and you can go through just topic by topic. So the first thing we started out with was, sort of meditation on suffering, right, and the lower realms, and then we were talking about refuge, and so there's, an outline of all the points that are covered in the lam-rim text, and you can go through and say, does this make sense? Do I agree with this? Maybe I don't agree with this. Otherwise you're just kind of, if you just read it in a book and then close the book, then, I'm not thinking about it so much. But, it's not necessarily something that you have to do, on the cushion in the morning. Maybe you're reading your book on the bus or something, but you're thinking about it, actively thinking about it. and that's also, that's meditation, too. Something we're all very good at. We do it all the time. You don't just take something, at face value. You really have to think it. And the Buddha always said that too. He said, don't just accept what, I said. You have to really, really challenge it, question it, make sure it makes sense for you. And if you don't understand it, then ask questions and get the answers that you need. So the teaching goes on in this particular topic, and the other topics are the reasons why the Buddha is a worthy object of refuge. There's some points there. The ways to take refuge is the next meditation, and that includes the excellent qualities of the Buddha, the qualities of the Dharma, the qualities of the Sangha, and then the last is sort of the commitments and benefits of refuge. I think since this was such a short session, we talked a little bit about the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So I think we're going to just move on to the last one, which is the commitments and benefits of refuge, and then you can go back through on your own and maybe reflect some more on those other sections. So after you have taken refuge, start to become more comfortable with that idea, there is actually a formal refuge ceremony that you take from your spiritual teachers, such as Kenshin Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, or His Holiness the Dalai Lama. They can offer a refuge ceremony. But anyway, even in your own mind, before you do that, so you can avoid taking ultimate refuge in worldly gods. So, you only take refuge in the Buddha. And then, very importantly, your commitment is to not harm any other being, either directly or indirectly, with any actions of body, speech. Mostly it's speech, right? So, you're going to be very careful not to harm someone by saying something, malicious, like malicious gossip, slander, or just being, outright mean. Don't be mean to anybody. And then it includes, being mindful in your actions of body with respect to, let's say, even like small insects, trying not to step on an ant or slap a mosquito, kill a fly, right? So by taking refuge, you're vowing, you're committing not to harm any being, directly or indirectly. And you pledge to entrust yourself, oneself to and keep it in. So basically try to avoid hanging out with people who are going to have a negative influence on you, right? So that kind of makes sense. So, you're not going to spend time with people who are always going to be harming, other beings, right? And you're going to try to make an effort to stay away from people who, are engaging in any of the other non-virtuous activities, right? Because they might have a negative impact on your own attitude as well. So try to hang out with people who are like-minded, right? People who are also on the path to spiritual realizations. So the converse is that you should practice seeing images of the Buddha as being the actual Buddha and paying respect to them. Right? So maybe in your home, you have some images of His Holiness the Dalai Lama or images of the Buddha, and so you think that this is the actual Buddha, and likewise seeing Dharma texts, so these prayer books or any representation of the Dharma is a holy object because it's the Buddha's words, and likewise, even one member of the Sangha, so monks or nuns are supposed to be treated as members of all of the Sangha, representing all of the Sangha. So in terms of actual other practices that you can carry out during your daily life, don't just listen to the teachings or read about the teachings. You have to actually put them into practice, right? So try to think of, ways in which you can do that in the course of your daily activities. Do not let your senses become excited. So that means to, again, just it comes down to mindfulness. So be careful to guard your mind, right? And again, the idea is to steer away from negative actions, right? Or just things that you think are going to get you excited and lead to disappointment and disturb your sense of balance, right? So if you're walking down the street, the practice is to just kind of keep your mind focused, again on your breath, right? On virtuous thoughts, right? You can always be saying mantras or prayers, or just at least focus on your mind, and don't let your mind go wild, looking around and getting absorbed by all of the clutter that's out there, right? So if you can, try to simplify. I mean, that sounds kind of strange, but really try to simplify your life. Try to just keep yourself focused on your goal, which is to understand yourself, to control your mind, and not harm other sentient beings, right? Even that's a lot. That's a lot. In and of itself, that is a lot, right? And in order to do that, you really do have to cut down on the distractions and the clutter and the chit-chat that's going on around you. Right? So it takes a conscious effort to slow down and just focus on developing that sense of mental alertness and mindfulness. Okay. So if you're going to sit down and do a serious, successful meditation session, again, the way to create those the causes and conditions for that to happen is by minimizing all of the other distractions that you're going to experience in the course of the day.
We live in such a world of incredible stimulation and options.
Yep.
And sometimes it just feels overwhelming. But I guess what you're saying is try to protect yourself. It's hard. It's also a very appealing world. I mean, it really draws you in.
It's very seductive.
It's very seductive, and I find that very difficult.
Mm-hmm. That's the choice. Do you want the immediate sensual gratification?
Yeah.
The eye candy,
Right.
the ear candy,
Right.
or do you want to trade that in?
For something, for more stability, and also sometimes the stimulation is just overstimulation.
Yes.
So, you know, you go into a grocery store and there are 10 different
Right,
kinds of
right.
this, and it's overwhelming at times. I
It
mean,
is.
not just in the grocery store, but whatever you want, there are a million different
Right.
varieties or options or.
That's life in America.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
maybe this is the first culture that's really been like this. I mean, the Western culture for the last 100 years, say, or last even 30 or 50 years. I don't know if there's ever been a culture with this much stimulation and
Yeah.
choice in modern history, but it's pretty amazing.
It's not like in a small town with a grocery store with one can of beans to
Mm,
choose
yeah.
from. It's
Mhm.
great. You know, I just want beans. I don't
Yeah.
want 15 kinds of beans, just beans. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Something that helped me a lot was I had my TV cut off.
yeah.
That helped a whole
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
and it also gave me more time to practice or to
Exactly.
meditate. And
right.
at first I wandered around, oh, what do I do?
Do.
I'm bored, what do I do? But then when I started with this, it's like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that really helped a lot right there. And I still have the internet for news if I want to go on, but you
Right,
know how the TV
right.
just kind of dominates
Yeah, it's very easy to
the
just
house.
turn it on and
Yeah, and then you get sucked into it for 8 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
I think how much money you're saving too.
Yeah, that
I don't
too.
have no TV. I almost got rid of the internet, but I'm taking a class, so I have an excuse. But I got an online class without the online part. But yeah, it saves so much money, like $100 a month. Just and that money you could save. You can do so many virtuous things. There's so many good causes out there. There's so many people starving, right? Just take the $100, give it to Somalia. Oh my God, there's so many opportunities. So yeah, I think it's a conscious effort to simplify and to, unplug, as they say. Unplug. A lot of benefits, especially if you have, probably nobody else has kids, but if you have small children, definitely. So, in terms of the practice ideas, try to develop the sense that the holy beings are around you at all times, and that they're always encouraging you. That there are millions and millions of Buddhas out there, and they're all only there exclusively for our benefit. And they're there, sharing the teachings. They're there, giving us support and advice, and they're there to help us, in our time of need. And then, we want to develop the same qualities that the Buddhas have, and we can do that right now by developing a more compassionate and open attitude towards others. And through any of your actions, you always think that I'm offering, every bite of food that I take, every sip of water before I do that, I'm making this, transforming it into a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful offering for the Buddhas, the Dharma and the Sangha. And so, as a result of doing, setting your motivation in that manner, then you're creating a lot of merit. So that's laying down, creating the causes for your own future enlightenment. Okay? And then, so when we were talking about the trade-offs, turning off the immediate gratification in terms of something that would bring you sort of everlasting, peace and happiness, then by taking refuge and by acting, in the manner that we just briefly discussed, then you're guaranteed to not fall into the lower realms. In your next life, you're guaranteed to quickly exhaust, all of the obstructions, all of the ignorance that prevents us from, being a Buddha right now, is the result of previous actions. Right? So by practicing non-virtue, taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by first practicing renunciation, right? Renunciation is a sense of cutting off your ties to the preoccupations, with this life. So, not being preoccupied with your status, your reputation, material wealth, material necessities, all of those things. By renouncing all of those, and not allowing your mind to be, ensnared by that type of, seductive, temporary happiness, then by putting that behind you, casting it away, then that frees you to focus on developing and expressing this inner potential that we all have for being like His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Always cherishing others, always happy, always, just a fully realized, human being.
I have a question. Is the Dalai Lama considered a Buddha?
Yeah, he's an emanation of the Buddha. And so the Buddhas can emanate, they can take the form of anything that they choose. Whatever somebody needs, based on the needs of the individual practitioners, then the Buddha can manifest himself or herself, in that form. So we will say that His Holiness is a manifestation of the Buddha Chenrezig, the Avalokiteshvara, who's the Buddha of compassion. So it's an emanation of compassion. Because we can't see, the Buddhas directly, right? So there could be a million Buddhas in the room, but we can't see them. So they have to emanate, they take the physical form, of objects that we can interact with. Right? So they could be anything from rocks or trees or plants, natural objects, to human beings, to dogs, animals, different kinds of animals, etc.
So are Buddhas considered to be teachers, or are they considered to be gods? When you
Are they
think
teachers
about
or
them,
gods?
when we think about them, do we consider them as gods, or are they teachers? How do we?
Teachers in the physical sense,
Right.
like somebody like His Holiness.
Like for me, you're a teacher, so
Well, I'm definitely not the Buddha, so I see where you're coming from. So I guess the idea is that the Buddhas, they can manifest, they can take the form of any being. So somebody like, they could take the form of a teacher, and that's true. Actually, a very important part of the practice is training yourself to think of your spiritual teacher, as a physical emanation of the Buddha, right? So that's obviously not me. Put that on camera, yes. But it is, because you have to develop that sense that it is possible to attain enlightenment, that it is possible, to become a Buddha, and so it's very helpful, when you see someone like His Holiness or Khensur Rinpoche, you think, oh, that's a real Buddha.
For me, Buddhism is not a religion, it's a philosophy. So if it's not a religion, we don't have a God. So it's only a manifestation of the real human being. So Buddha is a manifestation of a real human being.
You can think of it that way too.
Mhm.
However you feel more comfortable. I guess eventually you get to the point where you think that the Buddhas are just they don't necessarily they don't have physical form. Everybody has a mental continuum, right? So everybody has a physical body, right? But we also have mind, right? And the mind is this mental continuum, sort of like a thread that goes on and on and on. It's beginningless, right? There's no start, there's no end. And so you're just one long, endless, beautiful mental continuum, right? And so a Buddha is some mental continuum that has become perfected, right? It's a supreme state of being, a supreme state of being of this mental continuum. And so it's just out there. And so, we're on the path. We're finding our mental continuum continua, I guess it would be, through practicing, you know, patience, and generosity, and morality, and, you know, different types of meditation, right? So more and more we're able to purify our mental continuum.
Is it then, because I thought that the Buddhas and Tara, they're all part of me. This is where I'm at with this, I guess, is that though I have like an altar and I can look at them, but it really is just another part of myself. Like I'm an unrealized Buddha, or something. Is that how you understand it?
That you have the same potential to attain.
Right. Everyone is a
same
potential Buddha.
Yeah.
So it's not really anything outside of myself, though.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it too.
It's actually just part of all of us.
Well, I mean, we're not Buddhas now, but we have that, like you said, we have that inner potential to attain that state. So, you know, and it's helpful as you're doing a meditation practice, you know, there are different kinds of deity practices where, let's say, if you think later on that Tara is the deity with whom you feel the greatest connection, then you can take the initiation, you know, you can take like a green Tara initiation, and then there's an actual practice where you think that the deity is one with your own mind. And so, yeah, that's very helpful too. Yeah, and so, you know, and then as you relate with other people, you know, you can think, oh, well, you know, that person has that same potential, that has that same, you know, Tara presence, and so, you know, you're a little bit more patient, a little bit more calm. You're just having a bad day, or a series of bad days, or always having a bad day. But, you know, again, you're gonna think that, oh, that person has that potential.
Please tell me who's Tara. I
Tara?
don't know.
Tara is the deity over here, the statue on the left, on your left. And so that's Tara. There are different manifestations of Tara. Tara is the deity who acts swiftly and responds to you when you're, you know, in a crisis. You can always say, "Oh, Tara, come help me." So there's green Tara, and then there's white Tara. White Tara is one of the long life deities, and there are 21 Taras. But anyway, those are the most common.
And how is it related to Buddha?
So there are many different aspects of Buddhas. Aspects of the Buddha. So there was Shakyamuni Buddha, who lived 2,500 years ago or so, right? He was the historical Buddha. He was one of four so far, and so he was the Buddha within this fortunate eon who came and gave, you know, the teachings. But there've been, you know, there are infinite Buddhas, and so the medicine Buddha is in the middle. And I guess this Shakyamuni Buddha is here. And the photo is a photo of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and the gentleman on his left, that's Khyentse Rinpoche, mentioning he's our teacher.
Is Tara the only female Buddha?
Oh, no, there are others. I think Namgyalma, there's another long life deity, I think. There are others too.
That represents a strong part of ourselves, right?
Yeah, all of them do. Yeah.
But in relation with, I don't know. It's for me, it's to be more practical in life, in relation with the life.
Mm-hmm. You had a question?
No.
Or is it a
No,
statement?
it's a statement.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it is kind of confusing, because then, in things that I've seen too, they say Buddha said there is no God. So to me, I guess I interpret that as there's nothing outside of myself.
There's no God. That's something that you read?
And documentaries or whatever I watch.
About Buddhism, there's no God. No God. No worldly gods. No even the worldly gods.
I don't know. I'm trying to put it all together.
Let's see. Well, like the do say, no worldly gods, such as I mean, if you think of it in the context of the historical context, then saying that there's Buddha, but there are no other worldly gods. Could be gods from other religions or protector gods, protector deities. I wouldn't get too caught up on
Okay.
But the Buddhism is not worried about if God exists or not. The Buddhism is more focusing to be a good human being, right?
Yeah.
It's not
it.
we are not praying to Buddha to have more money.
Right.
We are not praying to Buddha to be successful in some issue.
Yeah.
We are meditating in and with Buddha in order to be a more compassionate,
Yeah. Yeah.
more tolerant.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah.
So the Buddhism way is a hard way because it's a lot of work, mental
Yeah.
and emotional work.
It is. It is.
And with yourself, that's more
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
With yourself.
In
Definitely.
this world.
Yeah.
But I think for me it seems like it's healing though. So this the reward is that
Definitely.
I'm healing and hopefully I can help the people around me to heal also.
If you can prevent one argument or one disagreeable situation by practicing restraint and trying to understand the other person a little bit, you can just one. Well, this is great. Very good. So you have to develop that mindfulness. Watch what you're going to say. Watch that email. I always say that. A lot of hateful email out there. Really be careful before you hit that go submit button, right? You can't retract an email, unfortunately. You can try hard, but it's hard to get an email back once you click the go button. I don't think you can. You have to be very careful. Very careful. Email is really
Tender.
dangerous. Or texting.
The idea of praying to Buddha is really kind of a mistaken notion, isn't it? I mean, didn't he kind of advise against that?
In what sense?
Well, you don't pray to Buddha as such. I mean, as like you would say in a Christian religion, where you pray to a saint or to Christ in terms of asking for something.
Maybe that's.
In Buddhism, or at least as far as what I understand of it, prayer to Buddha is really not something that is, in theory, not what is really done. You're not praying to him. In other words, you're not raising him to the level of a god. Didn't he advise against that?
Well, so the two aspects here. You can pray to Buddha for like in a minute we're going to do the medicine Buddha prayer. So this is a good conversation to have. So the idea here is you're praying to the Buddhas to help relieve the suffering, the mental and physical suffering of yourself and of all sentient beings, and so you're asking for guidance. You're asking for the energy, the strength so that we, however weak and frail we are, that we can develop that ability. And so in that sense, you're seeking blessings from the Buddha so that you can accomplish that goal, which is to become like him or her, right? So usually we say him, but you can always like say him/her. It's kind of awkward, so we just say him. Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
another
to-
aspect, it's kind of
But
not
you're right
relevant.
in the sense that you're not praying to Buddha for a new car or a better job necessarily. You're not necessarily praying for the promotion or it's like a worldly gain, right? You wouldn't ask for that. I don't even know if you would ask if you were Christian. I don't know if you would go to God to
Oh,
God
yeah,
or
it's very much a part of it.
well, okay. So maybe that's what it means. I'm not. I didn't come from a Christian background, so it's a little harder for me to have that context. But yeah. So in that sense, for Buddha, and Kensho Rinpoche always says that. If you go to Kensho Rinpoche and say, God, please could you say some prayers for me so that I get that better job or something, he'll laugh. No, I'm not gonna do that. Sorry. You can go do that. But if you ask him, to help you, pray for, let's say you're doing a retreat or, you're having some problem with your meditation practice or something, you ask, could you help me, eliminate this obstacle, this mental obstacle? And, he'll say, oh, okay. Like
So
that.
looking for the spiritual strength to emanate the qualities of a Buddha is
Yeah.
not necessarily praying to the Buddha to have him give you that quality. You look to emanate those qualities, you look to take those qualities on yourself.
To develop them. To develop them.
right.
Yeah.
But
please
he
do.
doesn't grant those to you by virtue of your prayer, or does he? It was my understanding he said it's not how it is.
Yeah, maybe it depends on your motivation, who's doing the praying. But yeah.
Well, if your motivation
Put it
is
there.
to be like the Buddha,
Yeah.
is to,
You try doing these meditations. Try.
yeah, I do.
And I think eventually you'll feel that there is some kind of communication there.
Well, I'm not saying there isn't. I'm saying what is the goal of the communication, basically. Is it a prayer to ask for something?
Yeah.
Or is it are you praying, are you meditating in order to take on the qualities of the Buddha as you understand it?
I think you're saying, pray. I think it's both. I think it's you pray, give me the strength. Let me be able to find the strength to carry out, my fulfill, the vows that I've taken, whether it's the refuge vows, right? Or let me have the strength so that I can, be strong myself, so that I can be strong for others, right? At the same time, it's saying, please, be there for me, stay with me, be present in the world, so that I can learn about the teachings, carry out the teachings, right? And that's actually, it's an important point because, you do, in order for the Dharma to succeed, anywhere in the world, particularly in the West, as our teachers are getting older and passing away, it's very important for us to make these heartfelt, earnest and sincere requests that they remain, because otherwise they won't remain. The fact that we have the teachings here in so many amazing forms now is because of the heartfelt requests that Dharma students, have made, praying, that the teachings will remain. Without that kind of sincere motivation, then the teachings will disappear. So that's very important, actually. So in that sense, it's a direct request to all the teachers, that they stay and. Otherwise, they'll go away. They have other things to do. They have other, realms to go visit, and they can give teaching somewhere else. They don't have to come here, right? So if we don't create the causes and conditions for the teachers to come and the Buddhist teachings to remain, then there's nothing. If there are no causes and conditions, it's not going to happen, right? Just putting it bluntly, yeah. So that's why we're renting space at the bottom of a Unitarian church and we don't have our own building because we didn't pray enough.
Well, I think though when you pray, you ask for something though, but what my experience is nothing is given because then I get to go do the work to attain. I can say this is what I want to be,
Yeah.
and then I get to get up and go out in the world, and then I have to work to be patient, and I get to wait, or there's a lot of work behind it. But I think just my I ask for inspiration.
Right.
Inspiration.
To get a good
Right.
balance.
Yes, but then I get to
That's a good
go
way to put it.
nothing is given. I
Right.
feel like I get to go now and work
Create
at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the real change is inside,
Exactly.
and that I have to work for.
Yeah. Gotta make that effort.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the
So
fun part.
it's a lot of mental work.
Yes, it's monitoring a lot myself, and
To be aware.
it's almost like the more aware I become, I'm still the same person, but I feel like I'm a worse person because now I see more about myself that I was unaware of.
Yeah.
And I tend to have guilt about that, which I try to have compassion for myself.
Exactly. Well, it's good. You're very honest. Honest with us. Okay, so we were going to try to do this meditation on the Medicine Buddha. So we'll take a 5-minute break. Maybe we're going to do the shorter version of the Medicine Buddha. The long version.
Oh, yeah, it's upstairs.
Honest. And so we're going to do a slightly abbreviated version. It's okay. So, so again, the motivation is to pray to each of the 7 medicine Buddhas to help us develop the potential to be kinder, more tolerant, more loving, more compassionate, both to ourselves and to for all the living beings, all the different realms of cyclic existence, so that everybody is free from suffering. So here, the English is hidden in between the Tibetan, so it's a little bit hard to read, so we'll go slowly. Namo Guru Muni Injaya. The river of merely hearing your names makes even Avicii's hellfires cool as a lotus pond. Protectors in degenerate times, 7 Sugatas, and head of the Shakyas, to your feet I bow. Are you guys lost? Come on.
Are we reading with you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay, verse 2. Distracted by activities
It is of varying importance to benefit myself and those with faith in the life stories of the 7 Buddhas for degenerate times. Condense the Ambrosia's Sutra ritual to its molten essence.
Nature incorporating the entire body, speech,
Mind, qualities, and activities, all that,
the 3
3
times
times
and 10
and 10
directions.
directions. Source of 84,000 collections of dharmas, Lord of all Arya Sangha, I seek refuge in the kind and glorious holy root and lineage gurus. I seek refuge in the completely enlightened Lord Buddhas. I seek refuge in the holy Dharma. I seek refuge in the Arya Sangha. I seek refuge in the 8 brothers gone to bliss, the Lord Medicine Buddhas with their host of threatening deities. I seek refuge in the glorious holy protectors, Dharma protector guardians endowed with the wisdom eye.
I
Go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit, giving, and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings.
Page 103. All sentient beings who, although self and all
All
appearances
appearances
are
are
dharmadhatu by nature, have
have
not realized it thus,
I shall endow with happiness and the causes of happiness. I shall separate from suffering and the causes of suffering. I shall make inseparable from happiness without suffering.
and I shall set in equanimity the cause of well-being, free from attachment, aversion, and partiality. For the welfare of all other sentient beings,
I need to attain complete Buddhahood.
Therefore,
I am going to encourage
stages of the path, such as prostration, making offerings, and heartfelt requests, entreating the holy minds to grant blessings. To the 8 brothers gone to bliss, the Lord Medicine Buddhas, with their host of retinue deities. Purifying the place. Through the power of the supreme truth of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas' blessings, the might of the two collections, and the purity of the Dharma, may this realm's beings and environment be enriched like Sukhavati,
with all the desirable perfections of both samsara and nirvana.
Jeweled ground
Adorned with trees and with palms, whose bottoms are covered with gold, silver, and pearl dust, flowers strewn and sandalwood fragrance arising, human and divine enjoyments,
Samasavajra's offerings everywhere. There in
There
the
at the
center of the
churning jewel palace, on lotuses and lion thrones, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas abide. May everywhere be filled with the oceans of clouds of offerings which they enjoy, born through the force of the mantra, samadhi, and aspiration.
The power of truth, by the power of the
The
truth of the three jewels,
of the blessings of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, by the power of the great might of the completed two collections, and of the completely pure, inconceivable sphere of reality, may all these offerings become just so.
And then we'll skip to 106. Indication. Compassionate protectors and degenerate times, seven
Buddha, Shakyamuni, Holy Dharma, Bodhisattvas, and guardians, invited us to support and protect a refuge to protect others and myself. May you come here, gather, and grant your blessings.
Root, the seven limb practice. Root Guru, whose
Kindness is without equal, King of the Shakyas, Manjushri, Shantarakshita, holding in their hands this profound sutra, to the direct and lineage gurus I prostrate. To the compassionate ones who liberate destitute beings, seven Sugatas, Buddha Shakyamuni, and Holy Dharma, Manjushri,
Vajrapani, Brahma, and
and
Ishvara,
Ishvara,
and the
and the
Maharajas and
Yakshas
Yakshas
I
I
prostrate.
prostrate. I make every collection of offerings actually
Arranged and emanated through the force of mantra, samadhi, and aspiration. I confess all downfalls and negativities, rejoice in virtues, request and beseech, and dedicate such virtues as these to the great enlightenment.
Great Bhagavan assembly,
Assembly, pray, listen. Seven Sugatas, just as you promised.
Your
Your previous prayers will be fulfilled during the final period of Shakyamuni's teachings. Pray, show me in actuality is true.
So I think what we're going to have to do here is we'll do the first, basically the first verse. There's seven medicine Buddhas. So instead of doing the entire thing, we'll do the first verse. So prayers to each of the seven. Okay, so to the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat,
Fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs,
I
prostrate, offer, and go for
So we
refuge.
repeat it 7 times. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata,
Arhat,
Arhat,
fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge.
So then you flip to page 110 at the bottom. I think we can actually chant this. So we got, let's see. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat,
Fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, radiant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for
refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. So with each recitation of the name of the medicine Buddha, so there's 7 medicine Buddhas, just try to visualize the medicine Buddha at the crown of your head. They're actually all stacked up, and as you say each verse, the one on the top descends into the one below it. But at least try to look at the image and think of that particular Buddha is there at the crown of your head, and so you're making requests to the medicine Buddha. And at the end of the verse, think that all of the Buddha's attainments of body, speech, and mind, all of the spiritual realizations take the form of nectar and bless you and descend through the crown of your head, blessing you and wiping out all of your negativities, and in the form of black light. Okay? To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. 115. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat,
fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge.
117. Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat,
fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of the proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of the proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of the proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of the proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of the proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of the proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of the proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge.
119. Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat,
fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of the ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of the ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of the ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge.
color, lapis lazuli. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, king of lapis light. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, king of lapis light. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, king of lapis light. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, king of lapis light. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, king of lapis light. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, king of lapis light. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, king of lapis light. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Then skip all the way to 124. The offering to Shakyamuni Buddha. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni. I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. So we'll just continue for the rest of the prayer. Please may the pledges you made ripen upon myself and all sentient beings right now. May all my pure prayers succeed immediately. Golden in color with the pressing Buddha, who through the force of unique great compassion and enthusiasm became the glorious one of this, the fearless world system. I prostrate to the supreme leader, head of the Shakyas, born in the Shakya lineage of skillful means and compassion, unchallenged by others, conqueror of Mara's forces, body majestic as a golden Mount Meru. I prostrate to the king of Shakyas. I make every collection of offerings actually arranged and emanated through the force of mantra, samadhi, and aspiration. I confess all downfalls and negativities, rejoice in virtues, request and beseech, and dedicate such virtues as these to the greater enlightenment. Pray, bless us and all beings who lack a protector, receive here immediately without exception the benefits as taught by the Supreme Teacher and the extensive Sutra ritual of medicine Buddha. Supreme lamp dispelling the darkness of ignorance, foremost of medicines alleviating suffering and disease, to the entire sublime jewel of the Dharma,
I prostrate offer and go for refuge. Homage to the Mother of the victorious ones, perfection of wisdom and holy Dharma completely revealed, who totally destroys the dark seed of suffering's causes, and uproots the pain of suffering completely. I make every collection of offerings actually arranged and emanated through the force of mantra, samadhi, and aspiration. I cast down balance negativities, rejoice in virtues, request and beseech and dedicate such virtues as these to great enlightenment. Through the blessings of the truth of the holy Dharma jewel, may I and all others henceforth in all our lives practice the Buddha's teachings in their entirety, exactly as the Buddha intended.
The conqueror's heart commitments were invoked by
36,000 sons of Siddharthas,
including Manjushri, Shabdrol, and Vajrapani.
Thus requested they proclaim the sutra's benefits, pray and manifest all of them for me here and now, and to the worldly protector Yakshas as well, as you promised to do before previous teachers, to stop enemies, harmers, and epidemics, pacify all conflict, and increase physical and mental bliss, increase wealth, power, property, crops, and lifespan. Accomplish these desired goals as we wish, and always protect us without break.
So here we do the mantra recitation, which is on page 128. Usually we just do the shorter version. So you can see in the box the common pronunciation. So I'm going to do this a few times. So it's actually longer, but the shorter one is Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samangate So. Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samangate So. Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samangate So. Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samangate Soha. Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samangate Soha. Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samagate Soha. Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samagate Soha. Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samagate Soha. So you just keep saying that to yourself for a while, okay? I'll just do it silently. Om Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samagate. So then we 108, 128, sorry. Root Guru, whose kindness is without equal, King of the Shakyas, Manjushri, Shankaraksha, and so on. Holding in her hands this profound sutra to the direct and lineage gurus I prostrate. To the compassionate ones who liberate destitute beings, to the seven Sugata, Buddha Shakyamuni, and the Holy Dharma, to Manjushri, and Maharajas and Yakshas I prostrate. I make every collection of offerings actually arranged and emanated through the force of mantras, mind, and aspiration. I confess all downfalls and negativities, rejoice in virtues, request and beseech, and dedicate such virtues as these to the great enlightenment. Whatever I have done or caused to be done that was unprepared or degenerated or done by the deluded mind, please be patient with all these. Whatever the beings of this degenerate age have done of lesser merit mixed with ignorant delusions that did not fulfill the Arya's wishes, please be patient with these as well. Under the influence of miserliness, lacking in skill, having made bad offerings or faulty arrangements, O Protector endowed with great compassion, please be patient with these as well. Whatever was superfluous or left undone, degeneration in parts of the ritual, or whatever was forgotten, please be patient with these as well. By remaining here together with this image, for the sake of all migrators, may you grant us long life without illness, power, and supreme attainment. Om Supratishta Vajraye Soha. And I think we'll skip to the dedication prayer on page 134. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Madhava realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue, with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so I might perform good works. Due to the merits accumulated over the 3 times by myself and all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas which are empty from their own side, may I, who is empty from its own side, achieve a state of enlightenment which is empty from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are empty from their own side to that state as quickly as possible by myself alone. Because of all the merits of the 3 times created by me and all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and other sentient beings, may there be no wars, famines, disease, quarreling, fighting, or unhappy minds. May there be great prosperity, and may everything needed be easily obtained. May all the human beings in the world be guided by spiritual leaders teaching only Dharma, and may everyone enjoy the happiness of the Dharma. So then, just think of all the people, or animals, all the beings in your own life for whom you would like to dedicate the merit of the medicine Buddha Puja to. And so you can visualize medicine Buddha here at the crown of your head, and visualize Buddha's blessings of body, speech, and mind, entering the crown of those particular individuals' heads. So whoever you want to dedicate the merit to, just think that the Buddhas are so happy that we've done this prayer together, and think that they're being purified instantaneously of all of their unhappinesses. So whether it's your great auntie, or your grandma, or your partner, or your dog, just think that they're receiving the blessings of Buddha. so we're going to do a slightly abbreviated version. It's okay. So, so again, the motivation is to pray to each of the 7 medicine Buddhas to help us develop the potential to be kinder, more tolerant, more loving, more compassionate, both to ourselves and to all the living beings, all the different realms of cyclic existence, so that everybody is free from suffering. So here, the English is hidden in between the Tibetan, so it's a little bit hard to read, so we'll go slowly. Namo Guru Muni Injaya. The river of merely hearing your names makes even Avicii's hellfires cool as a lotus pond. Protectors in degenerate times, 7 Sugatas, and head of the Shakyas, to your feet I bow. Are you guys lost? Come on.
Are we reading with you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay, verse 2. Distracted by activities
Of varying importance, to benefit myself and those with faith in the life stories of the 7 Buddhas for degenerate times, I condense the Ambrosia Sutra ritual to its molten essence.
Nature incorporating the entire body, speech,
Mind, qualities, and activities, all that,
three
3 times
and 10
and
directions.
directions. Source of 84,000 collections of dharmas, Lord of all Arya Sangha, I seek refuge in the kind and glorious holy root and lineage gurus. I seek refuge in the completely enlightened Lord Buddhas. I seek refuge in the holy Dharma. I seek refuge in the Arya Sangha. I seek refuge in the 8 brothers gone to bliss, the Lord Medicine Buddhas with their host of threatening deities. I seek refuge in the glorious holy protectors, Dharma protector guardians endowed with the wisdom eye.
I
Go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By my merit, forgiving, and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings.
Page 103. All sentient beings who, although self and all appearances are Dharma Dhatu by nature, have not realized it thus, I shall endow with happiness and the causes of happiness. I shall separate from suffering and the causes of suffering. I shall make inseparable from happiness without suffering. And I shall set equanimity, the cause of well-being, free from attachment, aversion, and partiality. For the welfare of all other sentient beings,
I need to attain complete Buddhahood.
Therefore, I am going to encourage stages of the path, such as prostration, making offerings, and heartfelt requests, entreating the holy minds to grant blessings. To the 8 brothers gone to bliss, and the Lord Medicine Buddhas, with their host of retinue deities, purifying the place. Through the power of the supreme truth of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas' blessings, the might of the 2 collections, and the purity of the Dharma Dhatu, may this realm, beings, and environment be enriched like Sukhavati,
with all the desirable perfections of both samsara and nirvana.
Jeweled ground
Adorned with trees and with ponds, whose bottoms are covered with gold, silver, and pearl dust, flowers strewn and sandalwood fragrance arising, human and divine enjoyments,
Samasubhadra's offerings everywhere. There in
There
the
in the
center of the charming jewel palace,
on lotuses and lion thrones, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas abide. May everywhere be filled with the oceans of clouds of offerings which they enjoy, born through the force of mantra, samadhi, and aspiration.
The power of truth, by the power of the
Truth
truth of the
of the
3 jewels,
of the blessings of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, by the power of the great might of the completed 2 collections, and of the completely pure, inconceivable sphere of reality. May all these offerings become just so.
Then we'll skip to 106. invocation. Compassionate protectors in degenerate times, seven Buddhas,
Buddha, Shakyamuni, Holy Dharma, Bodhisattvas, and guardians invited us to support and protect a refuge to protect others and myself. May you come here, gather, and grant your blessings.
Root, the seven living practice. Root Guru, whose kindness
Kindness is without equal, King of the Shakyas, Manjushri, Shantaraki, and so on, holding in their hands this profound sutra, to the direct and lineage gurus I prostrate. To the compassionate ones who liberate destitute beings, seven Sugatas, Buddha Shakyamuni, and Holy Dharma, Manjushri,
Vajrapani, Brahma, and Ishvara, and the
and
Maharajas and
Yakshas,
Yakshas
I prostrate.
I make every collection of offerings actually arranged and emanated
Through the force of mantra, samadhi, and aspiration, I confess all downfalls and negativities, rejoice in virtues, request and beseech, and dedicate such virtues as these to the great enlightenment.
Great Bhagavan Assembly,
Pray listen, seven Sugatas, just as you promised.
Your
Your previous prayers will be fulfilled during the final period of Shakyamuni's teachings. Pray, show me in actuality is true.
So I think what we're going to have to do here is we'll do the first, basically the first verse. There's seven medicine Buddhas, so instead of doing the entire thing, we'll do the first verse. So prayers to each of the seven. Okay, so to the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat,
Fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs,
I
prostrate, offer, and go for
So we
refuge.
repeat it 7 times. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat,
Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, renowned glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge.
So then you flip to page 110 at the bottom. I think we can actually chant this. So we got, let's see. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat,
Fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant in the radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge.
To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound,
Brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge.
Bhagavan, Tathagata,
Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge.
So with each recitation of the name of the medicine Buddha, so there's 7 medicine Buddhas, just try to visualize the medicine Buddha at the crown of your head. They're actually all stacked up, and as you say each verse, the one on the top descends into the one below it. But at least try to look at the image and think of that particular Buddha is there at the crown of your head, and so you're making requests to the medicine Buddha. And at the end of the verse, think that all of the Buddha's attainments of body, speech, and mind, all of the spiritual realizations take the form of nectar and bless you and descend through the crown of your head, blessing you and wiping out all of your negativities, and in the form of black light. Okay? To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, great jewel who accomplishes all vows, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. 115. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, supreme glory, free from sorrow, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. 117. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of the proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of the proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, melodious ocean of proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, the delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of the ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To the Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of the ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of the ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, delightful King of clear knowing, supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. So the last Buddha, I just think it's blue in color, lapis lazuli. Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, King of lapis light, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, King of lapis light, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, King of lapis light, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, King of lapis light, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, King of lapis light, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. To Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat,
fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, king of lapis light, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, medicine guru, king of lapis light, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge.
Then skip all the way to 124. The offering to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to the Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge to Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, fully enlightened Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. So we'll just continue for the rest of the prayer. Please may the pledges you made ripen upon myself and all sentient beings right now. May all my pure prayers succeed immediately. Go golden in color with the pressing Mudra, who through the force of unique great compassion and enthusiasm became the glorious one of this, the fearless world system. I prostrate to the Supreme Leader, head of the Shakyas, born in the Shakya lineage of skillful means and compassion, unchallenged by others, conqueror of Mara's forces, body majestic as a golden Mount Meru, prostrate to the King of the Shakyas. I make every collection of offerings actually arranged and emanated through the force of mantra, samadhi, and aspiration. I confess all downfalls and negativities, rejoice in virtues, request and beseech, and dedicate such virtues as these to the great enlightenment. Pray, bless us and all beings who lack a protector, receive here immediately without exception the benefits as taught by the Supreme Teacher and the extensive Sutra ritual of medicine Buddha. Supreme lamp dispelling the darkness of ignorance, foremost of medicines alleviating suffering and disease, to the entire sublime jewel of the Dharma, I prostrate, offer, and go for refuge. Homage to the Mother of the victorious ones, perfection of wisdom and holy Dharma of who totally destroys the dark seed of suffering's causes and uproots the pain of suffering completely. I make every collection of offerings actually arranged and emanated through the force of mantra, samadhi, and aspiration. I confess all downfalls and negativities, rejoice in virtues, request and beseech, and dedicate such virtues as these to great enlightenment. Through the blessings of the truth of the holy Dharma jewel, may I and all others henceforth in all our lives practice the Buddha's teachings in their entirety, exactly as the Buddha intended. The conqueror's heart commitments were invoked by 36,000 sons of Siddharthas, including Manjushri, and Vajrapani. Thus requested they proclaim the sutra's benefits, pray and manifest all of them for me here and now, and to the worldly protector Yakshas as well,
as you promised to do before previous teachers, to stop enemies, farmers, and epidemics, pacify all conflict, and increase physical and mental bliss, increase wealth, power, property, crops, lifespan, accomplish these desired goals as we wish,
and
and
always protect us without break. So here we do the mantra recitation, which is on page 128. Usually we just do the shorter version, so you can see in the box the common pronunciation. So I'm going to do this a few times. So. It's actually longer, but the shorter one is. Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samangate So. Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samangate So. Tayata Om Bekanze Bekanze Maha Bekanze Ranze Samangate So. Bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, ranze, samugate soha, tayata om, bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, ranze, samugate soha, tayata om, bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, ranze, samugate soha, tayata om, bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, ranze, samugate soha, tayata om, bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, ranze, samugate soha. So you just keep saying that to yourself for a while, okay? I'll just do it silently. Tayata om, bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, ranze, samugate So then we continue on page 108, 128, sorry. Root Guru, whose kindness is without equal, King of the Shakyas, Manjushri, Shankaraksha, and so on. Holding in her hands this profound sutra to direct and lineage gurus I prosper. The compassionate ones liberate destitute beings to the seven Sugatas, Buddha Shakyamuni, and the Holy Dharma. To Manjushri, and Maharajas and Yakshas I prostrate. I make every collection of offerings actually arranged and emanated through the force of mantras, mind, and aspiration. I confess all downfalls and negativities, rejoice in virtues, request and beseech and dedicate such virtues as these to the great enlightenment. Whatever I have done or caused to be done that was unprepared or degenerated or done by deluded mind, please be patient with all these. Whatever the the beings of this degenerate age have done, of lesser merit mixed with ignorant delusions
that did not fulfill the Arya's wishes, please be patient with these as well. Under the influence of miserliness, lacking in skill, having made bad offerings or faulty arrangements, O Protector endowed with great compassion, please be patient with these as well. Whatever was superfluous or left undone, degeneration in parts of the ritual, or whatever was forgotten, please be patient with these as well.
By remaining here together with this image, for the sake of all migratories, may you grant us long life without illness, power, and supreme attainment. Om Supratishta Vajraye Soha. And I think we'll skip to the dedication prayer on page 134. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha, and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more.
Just as the brave appreciate and to realize things as they are,
I too dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue, with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so I might perform good works. Due to the merits accumulated over the 3 times by myself and all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas which are empty from their own side, may the I, who is empty from its own side, achieve a state of enlightenment which is empty from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are empty from their own side to that state as quickly as possible by myself alone. Because of all the merits of the 3 times created by me and all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and other sentient beings, may there be no wars, famines, disease, quarreling, fighting, or unhappy minds. May there be great prosperity, and may everything needed be easily obtained. May all the human beings in the world be guided by spiritual leaders teaching only Dharma, and may everyone enjoy the happiness of the Dharma. So then, just think of all the people, or animals, all the beings in your own life for whom you would like to dedicate the merit of the medicine Buddha puja to. And so you can visualize medicine Buddha here at the crown of your head, and visualize Buddha's blessings of body, speech, and mind, entering the crown of those particular individuals' heads. So whoever you want to dedicate the merit to, just think that the Buddhas are so happy that we've done this prayer together, and think that they're being purified instantaneously of all of their unhappinesses. So whether it's your great auntie, or your grandma, or your partner, or your dog, just think that they're receiving the blessings of